Hi, I'm Jane O'Reilly, and this is Ageless. I'm 40, and my life is just getting started. I'm here to share real talk and real experiences about how to live life ageless. Nothing's off the table. You know the vibes. Let's go. Hello, and welcome back to Ageless. I'm Jane O'Reilly. I'm your host, and today I am joined by an exciting new guest, and he is so fascinating to me. Guy P. Harrison is a passionate advocate for science and reason. He's an award-winning writer and author of 8 highly acclaimed books. He has written for many publications, including Skeptical Inquirer, Skeptic, Reader's Digest, and Psychology Today. He's visited 35 countries on 6 continents and is a guest lecturer at Dartmouth College, Portland State University, New School of Public Engagement in New York City, and other various organizations. He has more than 20 years experience in news media, and he's passionate about science fiction, nature, and fitness. So that's a lot to unpack. Welcome to Ageless, Guy. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Jana. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Awesome. So what I wanted to start by asking is how? How did you get your inspiration for all the above? What was it that led you to science, the brain, and a passion for reason and skepticism?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of a long journey, but the 30-second answer is that I think it originated in just my childhood curiosity. From the time I was, probably 5, 6, I've always been very, very curious about the world, about the people around me, and space, and just all these things. I had so many questions, and I grew up in a small town in Florida, so I wasn't surrounded by philosophers or anything like that. But it was a beautiful childhood in that I was exposed to nature a lot, and I was exposed to many diverse people, I'll say. So I had a lot to work with, and I just somehow that original curiosity has matured over the years. As I grew up, and it's still a work in process, but it's led me to just constantly be a student of the universe. I'm just always learning. College for me was just 4 years along the way. It wasn't like, oh, that's when I was a student and then I became a grown-up or something. I have never stopped being a student, and I have this attitude that I just wake up every day with, and it's that I am so ignorant. There is so much I don't know, and instead of freaking me out or making me feel bad about myself, it motivates me to try to learn a little bit more about how things work and what it all means, history, what has happened before us, the science of microbes, all the amazing little invisible creatures that are all around us, on us, inside of us. There's just so much going on in space, all this stuff happening out there, and the way humans interact. It's just an endless, fantastic ride. My only complaint is that I don't get to live to be, a million years old, so I can see more of it and learn even more. But you get what you get. So I just try to do my best. And I still have a lot of that little Florida boy inside of me. And so it's really easy for me to, when I speak to kids or I speak to adults or I write a book or an article or an essay, it's easy for me to pour a lot of passion into it and to try to get people excited about it, because to me, it ain't no act. This really is a fantastic universe. And it kind of breaks my heart that many, many people just sort of miss it all. They just get so wrapped up in nonsense, or or they just don't think it's important, or they just stop learning once they leave high school or they leave college, and they think now I'm this other form of life and I don't learn anymore. And that's heartbreaking, because man, it makes life so much more interesting and exciting. And there's a practical side to it. The more you know, the more science the more history the better your chances of sidestepping those potholes of civilization, all these little traps and minefields that are everywhere. All these scammers and con artists out there, all these sincere but deluded people who will take your money in a heartbeat and lead you down some crazy path. The more you know, you're not invulnerable to any of it because we're all humans. We're all vulnerable to being misled or making mistakes. But I tell you, the more you know, the safer you are. And that's a fact.
I love that. And you've covered a lot of ground, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, well, what do you mean? Is literally or
In the world? I
intellectually or
mean,
what? Yeah.
35 countries. How did
Yeah.
you do that?
Well, okay. Well, my ego is wounded because it's actually 38 now. Okay, so let's be
Oh my
accurate here.
God,
Okay,
38. Okay.
35 is that's trivial. Yeah, I'm up to 38 now. No, but
That's
no,
amazing.
that's part of my curiosity right there because I have my academic background is in history and anthropology, so I love people. I mean, individual humans scare me quite often, but collectively as a whole, humankind, I mean, there's so much potential there, so much beauty there. I'll never give up on it, no matter how crazy our species is. And from an early age, I decided I'm going to go see this wild, crazy, weird world out there. So I strategically chose countries spread around the world so I could really get a taste of, a flavor of this planet and its people. And I tell you, it's added so much to me. And I encourage people, please travel as much as you can and don't get trapped into the tour bus and the Hyatt hotel. When you travel, as long as you research, don't be reckless about it. You got to be safe. You got to be thoughtful. But it, when you travel, I can't stress this enough. Travel as a human at home, not as an American going to some exotic, bizarre wilderness out there in cuckoo land, where the people dress differently and speak strange languages. No, I don't care who you are, where you live now. When you travel, you're not leaving home. You're on Earth. This planet is your home. And everyone you meet, anywhere you go, those are family members. We're all 99.9% genetically identical. We exaggerate, our few differences to, oh my gosh, absurd exaggerations. We make it all so important. But the fact is, we have so much more in common. And, in my travels, all these different places, Africa, Asia, Australia, South America, I've always had that attitude. And it's allowed me to connect with locals in a much easier way, to make it more not tourist meeting local, but just a guy meeting another, fellow human somewhere else, and it's great. I mean, so yeah, please, you listeners, travel as much as you can and travel as a human on Earth because that's what you are.
Absolutely. I love to travel. I actually haven't been able to take a trip in a few years because I've been really busy with my business. But whenever I do, I make sure that I do it on foot, or
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
will
yeah.
travel like a local and I'll jump into a taxi cab and say exactly that. Show me what
Yeah,
you do. Take me around and show me what you do. I went to Jamaica one year.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
Great.
exactly what I did. And it was beautiful. I'd never seen a rainforest before.
Oh
And I
wow.
jumped into the taxi cab and said, I want to do your day. What would you do today? And he ended up taking me to see his girlfriend who worked at a rum bar. And
Yeah,
like we just cruised around and I
yeah,
loved it. And so that's how I
yeah,
love to travel. You
yeah. And
just
that's
learn
so.
so much
And
more.
and just to hear how excited you are describing that, you think of how your experience would have been if you were packed in with 50 other Americans on a bus and you were just kind of looking at Jamaica blur by on a window or something, and you weren't getting out and actually talking to real Jamaicans and just hanging out. That's what makes a visit, meaningful and memorable.
Absolutely. I've never taken a tour. I would never be on a tour bus. That's just not how I like to travel. It's too organized.
Yeah, yeah. You can use them. Let me quick little footnote here. I don't condemn organized tours. I've used them sometimes because they can be really efficient to get you places. And sometimes, if it's a dangerous place, they're the safest option. So, and if once people get older or maybe they have certain challenges, it might be the only option. So, yeah, they can be good. It's just I'm just saying, don't default to that. Too many Americans do that, and they really don't
I
need to.
agree. I absolutely agree with that. Um, well, I want to sidestep real quick because the reason why I had to hunt you down is because about 4 years ago, I read your book, Good Thinking, and it really made me go inward and think like a skeptic for the first time ever. And what is good thinking and how does one do it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that word skeptic, a lot of people probably heard that are listening and cringed a little bit because skeptic kind of has a bad rap. And I understand why, because some people who go around calling themselves skeptics can be very abrasive and actually closed-minded. And my response to that is you're not doing it right. Okay. Because true skepticism from a scientific perspective, from a logical perspective, is open-minded. It simply means you don't accept stuff without asking a few questions first and maybe asking for a little evidence. It doesn't mean you say, I know what's real and what's not. I know what's right and wrong because I'm a skeptic. That is a complete lack of humility. So skeptic, in fact, I often describe my skepticism as constructive skepticism, just to kind of put that in there, that feeling in there that it's not this rigid kind of doctrine oriented thing. Okay. Because a lot of people have that idea and it might make them even shy away from skepticism, which is a very good thing that we all should have more than most of us do. But yeah, good thinking is my sort of umbrella term for really just understanding the human brain and trying your best to use it in ways that help you make rational decisions, identify deception, and just constantly question yourself. Most important thing of all, it's not the con artist out there that's your biggest threat, really. It's the con artist inside your skull, because your brain has all these shortcuts and little gimmicks and these routines. It runs like a little program in your head that you're not consciously aware of. And so on a regular basis, it serves you up answers that the brain kind of instinctively thinks, yeah, this is good enough for the moment. This will get us through the day. This will work. So yeah, go here. Let's do it. And then your conscious mind hears that answer, receives that message and goes, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, here we go. Buy that ridiculously overpriced TV. It makes perfect sense. But actually your brain's leading you astray. So good thinking is really just a couple of things it would include. If somebody said, am I a good thinker? I'd say, yeah, you are, if you understand the structure of the brain, the very basic processes of a standard human brain. Doesn't mean you have to be a neuroscientist. Okay, nobody should cringe and be worried about this like it's you have to go take courses at the local university. It's very basic stuff. Just understanding how a vision, for example, how memory works, for example, because most people, I mean, like more than 90% of people do not know how human vision works and memory works. Two things they rely on every single day. And by not understanding those things, how they work, you constantly set yourself up to be misled. You misperceive things, you misremember things, and so you make bad decisions. And if you simply knew how those things worked, you'd be a little more careful about it. That awareness would protect you. You got to understand something about nutrition, fitness, overall physical health is crucial to brain processes, to brain health, to brain longevity. So yeah, it's interesting. Early in my life, I've been running and lifting weights since I was 13 years old, probably 12. And I've learned so much along the way. I'm like 58 now. And along that path, I've learned so much. And I just realized something, maybe 10 years ago, that my motivations have quietly kind of shifted, where as early in life, I wanted to be a great athlete. I wanted to, not look bad, for the girls, whatever. I don't know how to say that artfully, but I want, those were kind of the primary motivations: be fit, look like Tarzan or something like that. But what's happened is I've transitioned. The more I've learned about the brain and what it requires and how important the brain is and all this stuff, now I swear my motivation is, wow, when I go running now, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm making my brain last longer in life. When I lift weights, I'm thinking, yeah, not only am I still after all these years, I'm still getting stronger, which is amazing. When you think about how special and beautiful weight training is, that you can still improve in your 50s. I mean, that is magical. And yet I'm using brain science as a motivation to keep me in the gym and keep me not just showing up in the gym and not just showing up, running, but highly motivated, trying to be better every day. It's amazing. So yeah, the more you learn about the brain and how, eating blueberries and leafy green vegetables and getting enough sleep, and how strength training specifically, and how aerobic exercise, walking, all those kind of things can have such an impact on how well your brain works, and how, like I said, how long it can last, literally holding off. If you get Alzheimer's, you can literally hold off the ravaging effects of Alzheimer's by exercising daily, by a lifetime of exercise. You can make it. So yeah, it may get you in the end, but it's going to have to work for it. It's going to have to really, really come at you hard, because your brain is ready for it. Your brain is so wired up and dense with neural networks that it can handle that assault for much longer than a person who's sedentary would be able to. So yeah, I'm kind of rambling here. Sorry, but also
No,
one
I
more thing.
love it.
Oh, okay. One
Uh,
more thing.
yeah.
So crucial for good thinking is people, and again, most people don't realize this, is you got to understand that 99% of your mental activity is subconscious. It's happening below the surface of your brain there. It's happening in the dark waters of the subconscious. And all this activity is going on, literally taking an input from the world around you, listening to people and conversation, looking at things, reading a book. Um, all this stuff is, all this input's going in, and your subconscious mind, the shadow brain, is sorting it, analyzing it, and making decisions and reactions based on that input. And then it bubbles up to that little tiny little bit of surface there that's your conscious awareness. And then you go, yeah, okay, let's do it. Let's buy it. Let's join this club. Let's go here. Let's commit to get married to this person. And you think it all happened in your conscious mind, when no, you know, you've got all these unseen, unheard activities going on in your brain. And the thing is, most of it, and I'm not condemning the human brain. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's crazy how good it works, but you've just got to be aware that, does this really make sense from a logical, rational, evidence-based, scientific perspective, or is my subconscious mind reacting to emotions, bad memories, authority bias? Am I responding to this person in front of me because they've got a white lab coat on and for no other reason? The guy might be a total idiot, but he's wearing a lab coat, so he must be smarter than me because he's got a white lab coat on, right? No, your subconscious mind is reacting to that signal of authority that you've been taught. And so you may not even realize it, so you've got to constantly question yourself, challenge yourself. And I tell you, one of the key things to good thinking is changing your mind. You've got to be willing to say, damn, I got that wrong. Let's the way I kind of view it is, I personally kind of constantly try to weed the garden, the garden of my brain. I'm always trying to pick out the weeds and find bad decisions, bad beliefs, mistakes I've made, and try to note them and be aware of them and admit them so I can move forward. It's nothing. And this is hard because your subconscious brain will say, no, no, cling to the belief, stick to it. No, hold your ground, because it doesn't like to change, because it thinks, the brain is trying to get you through the next minute, the next 24 hours. It doesn't care about 20 years from now. It doesn't care if the book you're reading makes any sense or the TV documentary you're watching is honest. It doesn't care as long as it fits in the moment. But you've got a bigger game to play. Your conscious self. You're playing high stakes for a lifetime, and you live in this ultra complex, wild, and crazy thing called civilization, which our prehistoric ancestors never had to deal with. They were kind of grounded more in the real day to day, whereas we got social media, we've got lying politicians, we've got, 200 nutty friends on Facebook telling us all these things. So we've got to do a better job. We've got to be more alert about what's happening in our brains. Okay, sermon over. Sorry about that.
No, don't apologize at all. I just, I pushed the microphone away and I was so excited to hear all of that because my favorite chapter, and I think I told you this, my favorite chapter in Good Thinking was the shadow brain chapter. I found
Oh
it
yeah,
so
yeah.
fascinating. I actually had to read it a few times because it was so complex to me, but I understood that and it started to make a little bit my thinking started to make a little more sense to me. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just loved it. And then a few chapters later, there's a line in the book that says, our brain makes and takes shortcuts so that we can get stuff done. How does
Yeah.
that work? Because I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, well, the brain has, oh my gosh, uh, hundreds of just beautiful little shortcuts. Your brain is trying to be as efficient as possible for you as it can. Okay, that's why memory and vision don't work the way people think, because your brain is worked out over, you know, millions of years. It's worked out ways to cut through the noise that doesn't matter so it can get to the important information, so it can keep you alive and it can keep you productive, so it could, in the past, so it could get you the next meal, get you the next drink of water, keep you from being eaten by the big cat that's lurking around, and find you a mate so you can push those genes forward another generation. Everything else was whatever, that those are the priorities. And so your brain has come up with these amazing ways of, looking at something and immediately saying danger, safe. Um, you remember something, right? You have a memory. Well, your brain doesn't play. Most people think your brain plays back memories like sort of a video camera recording. Like you watch a replay of what happened yesterday. Not even close. What scientists have learned is that your brain's actually sort of like an archaeologist that uses artifacts of the past to piece together a story, keyword their story, of the past that is meant to be useful to you in the moment so you can take the next step forward in a safe and productive manner. Now, it leaves out one of the way I described it in the book is, imagine in your head you've got this little old codger, this old man that sits around a campfire somewhere in your brain, right? And he is your memory. And when you say, hey, let's see, 2 years ago, what did I do that day at work when Ralph got fired and then I had to go talk to the boss and blah, blah, blah. And you tap the old man on the shoulder and you say, hey, serve up, tell me that memory about that day. So he goes, okay, sit down. You sit by the campfire. He tells you a story about that day. And that story is highly edited because the old man in your head leaves out the stuff that he feels are irrelevant or unimportant. And even worse, he may embellish it a bit. He may add some things that he thinks will be useful for you, that he thinks will make the story more useful in the moment for you or protect your emotions. Maybe he might leave something out because, it might make you cry. It might be too sad. So he'll just leave that out of the story. He's protecting you. And he may add something to make you seem more heroic. So you feel good. Yeah, even though it never happened. It's crazy when you think about it. That's what your memories are. And he may even make a mistake. This is very common in memories. He may conflate other memories with that memory, just a mistake, because there's some weird similarity in some of the artifacts. So he'll have you remembering, what you did at Yosemite, that vacation 10 years ago, and in that memory of that vacation, he'll throw in a conversation you had with your mother, but that actually happened 20 years earlier, but you can swear it happened there and you can see it in your head. That's what's crazy about memories. Confidence means nothing. You will literally be able to feel 100% confident in a memory. You will see it in your head as it happened, but it never happened. And this is proven. And memories, human memories, can be easily influenced by input. You can walk up to someone and say, hey, remember that time last year, buddy, when we were arguing about something and then we made up and then we went and had, dinner at that restaurant? And then you'd be like, yeah, I remember. And when in reality, you had an argument, you made up, but you never went to dinner. But then the memory suddenly in your head is that, yeah, afterwards you went to dinner and it was great. That becomes a real memory for you just because somebody said it. I mean, it's nuts nuts, you know? So you got to be aware of that. And vision, very briefly, I'll just say human vision, you don't see 99% of the world in front of you because, again, your brain is being efficient. You don't need to see 99% of the. If you look out at your front yard right now, if you've got a beautiful lawn, you don't need to look out there and see every individual grass blade and every ant walking over a grass blade and your whole field of vision. That would take an insane amount of mental power and it would be useless. And while you're busy inputting all that info, you wouldn't notice, the lion stalking you from the side or something. So your brain is just giving you what it thinks you need and leaving out what it thinks you don't need. So things like that, common basic facts like that we all share, the workings of the brain can make us much better thinkers and make us much more efficient in life.
Absolutely. I guess that just really leads me to my next question. What is the human brain's greatest quality?
Yeah, it's hard to pick just one. You know what? I'd say it's ability because I'm sitting here talking about all these little traps and pitfalls of the human brain. Well, guess what? Guess what? The best thing about the human brain is that it can protect you from your human brain. Yeah, the human brain is so smart that you can use it to protect you from all these things that it's kind of doing against you in many circumstances. So yeah, the brain, I'd say number two, a close number two to that is its flexibility. You can constantly learn things throughout life. In fact, the brain, a lot of people don't know this. You got about the most accurate count of neurons in the brain is about 86 billion neurons, right? These are the brain cells. And that sounds like a lot. Well, that's impressive. But what's really meaningful about it is the way they connect, because all these neurons constantly connect and make all these different networks in your brain. Every time you learn something, say if you've never crocheted in your life and you take out yarning needles or whatever, and you start crocheting, you learn to do it, your brain goes on fire and it creates a whole nother network of crochet, skills in your brain. You've added another neural network, and these networks are always changing. They're alternating, they're making new connections. And so your brain is like this incredible galaxy of stars that are always touching and connecting, and it never stops, throughout life. And that's why it's so important for people to constantly learn new things, because when you're building up new neural networks, you're making your brain more dense. You're adding to that white matter in the brain. What you're doing is you're making your brain literally healthy. Think of it like a muscle, doing bicep curls. When you do that, you're making that muscle denser, stronger. And you're doing that with the brain as well. So like I mentioned, let me tell you a real quick story, amazing story, to show the benefit of lifelong brain activity, learning, and staying sharp, what it can do for you. A nun that ran a small private school died of Alzheimer's, and scientists autopsied her brain. They took a really good look at it, and they were like, wow, her brain was just devastated by Alzheimer's disease, just eaten up. And they questioned the people who knew her. They were like, what was her behavior like? Like, what? She must have been really rough with this. And they were like, what? She lived to like 90 or something like that. Very, died at an older age. But they said, what, are you crazy? She was the sharpest one of all. She ran the school, balanced the books, all this stuff. She was incredible, just sharp as a tack till the day she died. And the scientists were absolutely floored. And the conclusion was that her brain was so healthy. She had such a dense and vast rainforest of neural networks living in her brain that when Alzheimer's started ripping through her brain was able to work around it, to hold it off, to delay it, to push back, to figure out other routes, other networks that could work for her and just keep her in the game. And so that's a strong lesson for all of us. Don't fall into a rut in life. Don't think you've done it all, you've learned it all, and now you just coast until you die or whatever. You have to keep trying, figure out that, learn to juggle, go play tennis, read novels, learn a foreign language, learn sign language, Pick up a science book about a subject you've never known anything about and just start learning, take up astronomy and buy a cheap telescope, because all these things, not only are they going to be, fun and exciting, keep your life more interesting, keep your existence from going stale, but you're also doing a wonderful, powerful thing for your brain.
I love all of that. I really do. I agree wholeheartedly. And yeah, it's just about when you were saying coasting through life till you die, like that made me so sad because I know some people like that. It breaks my heart. And I can't imagine ever living that way. I mean, there's been periods of time where I was coasting because I just, outside issues, but I I can't imagine living like that. I mean, I'm always on
Yeah.
to the next thing, always trying to
Yeah.
find something new and to learn. I just taught myself how to DJ a few years ago because
Oh, cool.
I wanted to have I just kind of wanted to be the orchestra instead of
Yeah.
just the singer. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So, and it was
That's great.
hard. It was
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really hard to learn, but I did it and I'm so proud of myself. Um,
Yeah.
I
But you know
also
what,
love,
Jana,
yeah.
listen, congrats to you for learning something new like that, especially music too. Things related to music are great for the brain. Learning a new instrument. I'm sure DJing is probably the same kind of benefit because you're following the rhythms and you're actually influencing it. You're connecting with that musical rhythm and all that is great for the brain. But listen, Jana, when you learn DJing, not only were you giving yourself that emotional reward, you feel good about something, you've accomplished something new, you've got this fun new hobby or whatever, but you've also physically, I mean, structurally done something great for your brain. Always give yourself that extra pat on the back because that's a little bit more motivation to do the next great thing for yourself.
I'm usually a heart first kind of person, but now after this call, I'm going to start going brain first.
Well, both.
See
It's
how
both.
that
Hey,
works.
it's both. Listen, when I go on a great run, and I feel really good, I'm not a typical just plod 3 miles every day. I like to do lots of speed work. I sprint hills. I just love the speed element of it. I'm an old track athlete and I've never lost that pure joy of just running fast. It feels great. And when I'm doing it, in the moment, oh, it's just pure emotion, because I'm in that moment. I'm not thinking, oh, yeah, my great neural network is getting a workout, whatever. I'm just feeling the joy of ripping through the wind, and feeling like, running barefoot on grass. I love that. And it's purely emotional. So, yeah, my message is exploit both, exploit that intellectual awareness of what you need for your brain and body, but also ride that emotional wave every chance you can, for working out or learning new things.
Yeah, I agree. And my background is in fitness. So I love that you've been bringing that up and sharing your experience.
Oh, it's
And
so important. Yeah.
it's so important. I was an athlete as well. And I got caught up in the aesthetics around it. I just wanted to be, like you said, the Hulk basically, and be the strongest, the fastest.
Yeah.
And so I used to train that way and it was all about aesthetics. But now, I had to go through that and not be able to sustain that because if my
Yeah.
motivation is aesthetics alone, I won't even go to the gym. I won't even do it.
Wow. Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah.
I've just completely changed my mind. And I agree with you with what you said. We have to have the ability to change our mind. I think it's one of the most
Yeah.
powerful things a human being has is the ability to change
Yeah.
our minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that also leads me to nutrition. And I know that you had mentioned alternative medicine. I talk about
Hmm.
plant-based medicine on this podcast and my experiences with it. So I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on alternative medicine.
Yeah. Well, first of all, alternative medicine it's a complicated topic because it's such a vast arena where almost it will literally anything goes. Because once you say alternative medicine, you literally can use that label for anything. So people have to be extremely careful. Okay. Alternative medicine does not mean good. All right. It means it hasn't run the gauntlet of the scientific method necessarily. Maybe some things have, which are also still referred to as alternative medicine, but that's generally the divide there. And the problem is, scientific, say, evidence-based medicines, traditional, not traditional, but mainstream medical science itself is a continual learning process. It's filled with error, dangers, corruption. There's people that are involved in it, so of course there's going to be error and corruption because that's what people do. The advantage it has is that it's at least supposed to be evidence-based. Whereas alternative medicine, in that arena, you have many things which don't even make a claim to have evidence behind them. Literally, I could just say, I can heal you, trust me. And if I'm charismatic enough, and if I'm good looking enough, and if I can package my product well enough and pretty enough, there will be people who will buy it without question. And that's wrong because I just made it up. There's nothing to back it up. So you've got to be a good, strong, consistent skeptic, but see, the thing is, I don't like to necessarily compare that with medical science, because I say the same thing about medical science. Just because I go to a mainstream doctor doesn't mean I will accept 100% of what he or she says. I will be skeptical about them. I will question things. I will ask for second opinions. And here's the problem. I've written about this extensively, is that with alternative medicine, too many skeptics, too many scientists, too many doctors just dismiss it with a wave of a hand and say, oh, that's just a bunch of rip-off, crazy hocus pocus stuff. And what they're missing is, well, okay, but why is it so appealing then? Why is it so attractive to millions and millions of people? Right. Like, what are they getting right? Stop pointing out everything they get wrong and question yourself. Why do so many people go to them and not you? And I've researched this. I've gone to alternative medicine practitioners, and I've looked around in their waiting rooms and I've talked to them, and wow, I can tell you there's a consistency there where not all, but many so-called alt medicine practitioners, such variation here, I hate to generalize, but they get the people aspect down really well, whereas traditional mainstream medical science too often treats people like, you're just a car showing up for an oil change and tire rotations. You're not even a human being. You know what I mean? You're just showing up at the body shop or something. And that is so important to healing and diagnosis as well, because when you go to, say you go to some holistic healer, they're probably going to talk to you a lot more and ask you many more questions about your lifestyle and what you eat and all that stuff. Doesn't mean all their answers and suggestions are going to be right, but they talk to people as if they're people. Whereas, you go see a doctor, man, you get 15 minutes in that office and your lifestyle, your nutrition, your exercise probably never even comes up. You're like, yeah. how can they make a sensible decision about my, whatever problem I have or something, when they haven't asked anything about how I live, And so right. There's a real problem, and it's complicated. I'm not condemning medical doctors, because they've got insurance companies to answer to, and they've got limitations on their time and all that. I get it, but I would love to see a real revolution in mainstream medical science where patients are seen as people and not products, or not like I said, like a car, showing up for a tune-up, but people are scared. When people go into doctors' offices, they're scared. They're confused. They don't know. Like, we don't even know how to pick doctors. You look on Yelp reviews to pick out a neuroscientist because you're having headaches all the time. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. We don't know how to rate them properly or judge them as to who's really good and who gets the best outcomes with the most patients. There's no statistics on them that we all have access to. It's in a crazy state right now. They're pushed and prodded by, like I said, insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. So there's a mess over there. But then on the so-called alternative medicine side, you've got so many con artists and hucksters mixed in with really sincere people and people who've got a hell of a lot of science behind them who are promoting absolutely sensible scientific nutritional habits. And that, you know, you've got holistic healers out there who are telling you exercise and eat right and get enough sleep, and all that is completely evidence-based good science. There's nothing wrong with that, you know.
Yeah,
So
totally valid.
there's a real overlap and stuff. And so bottom line is that we all have to be extremely vigilant when it comes to our health. You know, you can't put too much confidence in one guru or one doctor. You can't put too much faith in one treatment or one medication or one lifestyle habit, because more things come to light all the time. The scientific process is constantly revealing more about our bodies, our brains, how we live, what's good for us, what's not good for us. So it's a constant work in progress, you know, like right now in one of my books, I think it's good thinking. I share this shake I love to make. I throw in blueberries and spinach and kefir milk and a few other things. And I just mix it all up and I drink it. There's nothing magical. I don't have to go to a health food store to buy a bunch of, you know, expensive stuff to put in the shake. Everything I put in there is based on pretty good, hard, solid science that it's good for my brain, it's good for my body. And I don't imagine that by drinking this that I've, you know, made myself cancer proof and nothing bad can happen to me. Not at all. But I know I'm giving I'm giving myself what my body wants and my brain wants, you know, what it likes. And I'm pretty confident in that. But if I read tomorrow that, hey, oh my gosh, we just figured out blueberries, you know, are terrible, you know, that ain't gonna happen. Blueberries are good. I'm a big blueberry believer. But
Oh, same here.
if that were to happen, and I don't mean one isolated study with 10 people, but if there was this massive scientific consensus that, yeah, blueberries, just we didn't realize they got this one toxin in them. Well, you know what I'm going to do? Hey, I'll leave blueberries out of my shake. Okay, I'm convinced. Move on. You know, I'm not going to stick to blueberries, damn it, because my guru told me. No, I'm going to learn, I'm going to adapt, and I'm going to keep moving forward as best I can. You know, that's the best we can all really do.
I think that's the message right there for sure. Well, we are running out of time, which makes me very sad. I could talk to you for hours, and I would love to have you come back on the show. But
I'd love to, Jana. No problem. Anytime.
yeah, I feel like we could go on and on so many different subjects because there's just so much to talk about in this exciting world that we live in.
Yeah.
But I wanted to end with this. I loved this quote that I read in your Psychology Today article, and I'm going to be posting it in the show notes so that other people can read it. And you say, learn, explore, dream. The more we know, the more we can imagine. The more we can imagine, the more we can do. And I thought that was so beautiful and so true. So what I think it relates to human vision. So what should everybody know about human vision?
Yeah, well, as far as your vision, like I touched on earlier, you mean literally vision, right? You mean your eyes? Is that what you're asking about?
No, mostly
Or you mean human
about
vision,
just,
big, like how you view the world in your life and all that?
yeah, and
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
imagining.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Sorry.
that's okay.
Got me. I went back to the eyeballs. Yeah, no, yeah. Is the bet? Listen, the like I said, the best we can do, in my view, you've got these fragile human bodies which we can make stronger. You know, we can exercise, we can live healthy lifestyles, we can keep our brains active and sharp and strong. But to what end? Why go to all this work? You know, because one, makes you healthier in the moment. It makes you feel better that day when you do something, when you go for a run, you lift weights, you eat a great healthy meal. You feel good in the present. When you feel good in the present, you can get more done. And when you get more done, you feel better because you're accomplishing stuff. You're making progress in life. You know, you're not a hamster on the wheel. At least in your mind, you feel better, like you've taken a step forward in your life. But in the big picture, and this is where the real payoff is when you do these daily things, these moment to moment things that, by the way, just become habit. You know, I don't have to like whip myself to go for a run. I don't have to have a big, you know, pep rally to get myself to the gym to lift weights. I do it because I got to do it. If I go 2 days without exercising, I feel horrible. Depression threatens,
Oh,
I've got to
I'm
do it.
right there with you.
It's just a lifetime habit. So what happens over time is that you kind of get this big picture maturity, I think. And and I'm no know it all. I'm not some philosophical genius here, but my hunch is based on my own experience and people I've observed. I think the more you build your body, the more you strengthen your brain, the more curious you are, the more you learn, the more you push the limits, your perceived limits. The more you do that as a habit throughout life, what you're doing is you're expanding your horizons. You're making yourself a larger life form. You're connecting yourself to a bigger world, a bigger universe. And when you do that, you feel better. You feel more resilient about all the crap that's going to come your way. When you do stumble, when you do make mistakes, when unfair things happen to you, you can weather that storm better because there's more depth to you, because you're stronger physically, mentally. Some days I feel like an idiot. I feel stupid, but hey, at least I can run fast, and that keeps me going maybe in that moment. Some days,
Absolutely.
some days I feel so fat, out of shape and slow and pathetic, but I think, hey, at least I wrote 8 books. I'm not a total
Yeah.
idiot. And so that gets me through the day. You know what I mean? I
Yes, I
think,
love
yeah.
it.
So I feel like the more you can do, the more you can do, if you know what I mean. So
I know
yeah,
exactly what you
just
mean.
keep pushing yourself and never, ever, ever slow down. I mean, seriously, the more you age, man, the more you age, the stronger you can be. And no matter where you are right now, you can improve in something. You can. If I tell people, listen, you can't work out for whatever reason, you can't lift weights, you hate it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, walk for 30 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. That will improve your brain and your body, just walking. And if you can't walk, if you're in a wheelchair, start rolling. Use those arms to roll those wheels. Get going, move, do what you can. There's something. And I sound like a like a desperate preacher here, but trust me, I don't want your money. I'll never, these people listening, your listeners, I'll never meet them or anything, but they're people, and so I care about them. I care about my fellow humans, wherever you are, whoever you are. I care. It's just something in me. So please exercise, eat healthy, read books, watch documentaries, make social connections with other people, learn, get strong, and live your life. I mean, it just, every person that takes that path, that nudges our whole species towards a better place, makes it a better world because got more positive people in it.
I just absolutely hung on to every word. And it just made me think that is why I started the Ageless podcast, because I did a transformation, a physical, emotional, spiritual, you name it, transformation in the last, I would say, year and a half, 2 years. And I've done a lot of healing work, a lot of deep work. And I also turned 40 last year. And I feel like I'm at the beginning of my life. I've never had as much energy. I've
Wow.
never felt stronger. I've never felt more
Yeah.
clear in my mind. I've never felt kinder. And it
Yeah.
just, it just is springboarding all these feelings for me. And I think, you know what? I'm not afraid of age. And PS, I actually feel like I'm 19 years old. I feel younger today than I did even 10 years ago. And so
Wow.
you're
Yeah.
right in everything that you said. I feel like
That's
it's
beautiful.
evidence-based. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
starts from within, and it
Yeah.
starts with the understanding of the mind, like you were saying,
Yeah.
and
You,
venturing out, living your
you,
life, and
yeah.
also taking care of your body and having the right nutrition, eating whole foods, taking the right supplements to fill in the gaps of what you're not getting
Yeah.
through diet alone. And
Yeah.
it's like high performance will allow you to do all the things that you mentioned.
Yeah. And Jenny, you just made me think of something I should have mentioned earlier is that I I have this belief that when you're taking care of your body and your brain, I hate, by the way, when I say body and brain, as if they're so separate. You know, they're all so
Yeah.
connected. One
Oh,
is the other. The other, you know, I mean, they both feed off each other so intimately. It almost is stupid to speak of them separately. But when you're taking care of your body and you're taking care of your brain, it makes it easier for you to take care of others, to care about others, because you just, and by the way, when I say, you know, you and I both, I think, will agree on this. When we're saying take care of your body, take care of your mind, your brain, we don't mean you have to be competing in Miss Fitness competitions or
right.
running, you know,
No, we weren't
super
saying that.
fast 400 meters, or you have to be some, you know, super intellectual, you know, with a PhD. What all you have to be doing really is moving in the right direction, improving your body, improving your mind. You know, when you're moving in the right direction at your own pace, as long as you're in the game, going in the right direction, making those consistent improvements for yourself, you feel so much better about yourself that you can more easily reach out to others, and you can be kinder to those around you than you probably would be otherwise, when you're, you know, your body's going in the opposite direction where you want it to be going, and when your brain is just filled with more anxiety than anything else, you know, because man, it just makes you a I guess a more grounded person or something. I don't know. Because me, for example, I'm an introvert. I mean, I'm like a shy person. I'm just, you know, I'm the nerd in the corner at Starbucks with a laptop, you know, hoping nobody comes and wants to talk to me. Just leave me alone, you know. But yet, you know, I've found myself on stages talking to 1,000 people, and on, you know, radio shows talking to 1 million people, and yet I can do it. I can find the strength and all, and that has come from me just making myself sort of a far from perfect person, but a person who's at least trying to move in the right direction with my life, because it does really does give you a kind of confidence, you know, that can just be aimed at anything in life. And it's such a beautiful thing where, you know, nothing feels better to me than to just talk to somebody for 10 minutes about an exercise program, you know,
Yeah.
or a few books that I would recommend they read, you know, because I walk away, you know, hopeful that, wow, maybe I just made that person's whole life a little bit better, you know, if they took that advice, and it feels good, you know, it's a rewarding thing, because man, we're such social creatures, we humans, you know, we need each other, we rely on each other, we are social primates to the max.
To the
So
max.
when we connect with somebody, even if it's for 2 minutes, you know, and you never see them again, if that connection is positive in the moment, man, it's great. It contributes to our lives.
I've loved everything that you've shared. I feel like this is such a treat. I think you're such a badass. I really do. I really
Well,
do,
thank you.
Guy.
You too. You
Thank
too.
you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'd love to have you back again, like I said.
Oh, anytime, anytime. You know, one little footnote here, and I'm going to shut up. I keep going, but
No, no, no. Give us the footnote.
the strength training and weight training it's incredible what science has revealed about it in the last 5, 10 years, because we knew for quite a while now that aerobic activity is great for mental health. You know, it can really help with depression, anxiety, walking, running, swimming, cycling, getting outside, you know, going for a hike. Those things are great for mental health. But wow, so too is strength training. And what's amazing is there's one great study I cite in one of my books, a study done with a bunch of elderly people in a retirement home. They put them on a strength training program, had them lifting weights, you know, weights and resistance bands and stuff like that. And they actually had more of a positive improvement in their cognitive function than elderly people who were put on a purely aerobic program. So it's interesting how, you know, still there's a big perception out there that, you know, older people or women, even still today, a lot of women shy away from weight training and they'll go to the aerobics class, you know, nothing
Right.
wrong with
That's my
aerobics class,
ideal client, by the
but,
way, is
but
a woman that
yeah,
is
yeah,
afraid
but
of weight training. I'm like, no, I got you.
oh,
We're going to do this. That's my
yeah,
ideal client
yeah.
always.
Yeah, but weight training is really it's really a necessity. I mean, honestly, as much as I love running, I tell people it's not enough. You need to also be lifting some heavy weights, getting stronger, keeping those bones, you know, your upper body strong. It's not just running, not just cycling. You need more. So yeah, that's great that you promote that with women. That's excellent.
Yeah, because I was that woman once. And by the way, nobody ever believes me, but I am actually an introvert extrovert. And
You? No.
me. And so, yeah, I really am. I was really shy as a kid, but like you said, the more I know, the more confident I have become. And the more I have taken care of my health, the more confidence I gained. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
able to speak on this microphone.
Yeah. Well, excellent. You're another success story. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There you
So,
go.
well, I have just loved this conversation and I know we're out of time, but is there anything else you'd love to leave the audience with?
No, that's fine. I've been rambling so much. Listen, thank you for having me, and I'm happy to do it again sometime. No problem. If your listeners want to check out my books, probably the easiest way is just go to Amazon, search Guy P. Harrison. P as in peace and love. Guy
Nice.
P. Harrison. I'm on Twitter, Harrison Author. And yeah, I just encourage your listeners, stay positive, keep listening to this podcast, and keep moving forward, mind and body.
Thank you so much. And like I said, I'm going to put some links in the show notes so you can follow Guy. And again, thank you for coming on the show.
All right. You're so welcome. Have a great day.
You as well.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Ageless. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. Tune in next week for a new episode.